Welcome. In this video, we're taking a closer look at the tumultuous world of international trade and monetary policy. We're escalating tariff wars, shifting alliances, and renewed questions about the role of the United States and the US dollar are reshaping global economic landscapes. As countries increasingly explore alternatives, ranging from new financial frameworks to alternative currencies, as unlikely as it may seem, there is one option that many have yet to seriously consider, and that is Bitcoin, Satoshi Vision, BSV. Whether you are a policy maker, an entrepreneur, or simply an everyday citizen trying to make sense of today's changing world, this discussion will shed light on the underlying geopolitical tensions driving the search for new monetary and payment systems. More importantly, it will explore why a decentralized, commodity-like digital cash system could offer tangible solutions to problems that conventional fiat currencies seem less and less equipped to handle. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clearer understanding of how BSV works, why it stands out as a potential international medium of exchange, and what practical advantages it could bring, not just for those seeking to sidestep the unpredictable US political climate, but for ordinary citizens everywhere who want a more stable and inclusive financial future. My name is Marquez from bsvsearch.com. Let's dive into the issues, examine the facts, and envision how a global digital currency might reshape our economic and political realities. In recent years, and especially in recent months, the United States has aggressively pursued tariff policies aimed at protecting and promoting its industrial base. While these policies claim to stimulate domestic manufacturing, they have triggered pushback from both traditional allies like Canada, Mexico, and the European Union, and strategic competitors, notably including China and Russia. As tariff barriers rise, global supply chains are disrupted, and they leave countries scrambling to secure new markets and alternative trade partnerships. What are the consequences for ordinary citizens? First is higher consumer prices. Tariffs raise the cost of imported goods, and companies often pass these additional costs on to consumers. And this is especially evident in sectors like consumer electronics, automobiles, and agricultural products. Number two, supply chain uncertainty. Both local businesses and multinational corporations find it more difficult to manage costs or plan for expansions. The consequences for countries would include waning trusts in the US-led system. Allies who once counted on the United States as a partner, as a steady partner, now view it as less reliable, and they will start searching for alternatives. Nations will seek to diversify trade relationships to avoid being overly dependent on a single partner that can impose tariffs or sanctions abruptly. So there's going to be, and there is, efforts to decouple from the US dollar. Historically, most international trade, particularly in commodities like oil, has been conducted in US dollars. The dollar's dominance stems from the United States post-World War II economic supremacy and the deep liquidity of its financial markets. Yet this very dominance also makes it a potent political weapon. By controlling dollar-based transactions, the US government can sanction or lock out entire nations, like Russia or Iran, from the global financial system. And so this drives nations to rethink their relationship with the US and their use of the US dollar. Sanctions fatigue. Countries that are subjected to or threatened by the US sanctions have grown wary of the dollar's gatekeeping role. Countries understandably desire autonomy. Major economies such as China and Russia, along with alliances like BRICS, are establishing separate payment networks and exploring alternative reserve assets to reduce their vulnerability. There are also inflation concerns. The US's monetary and fiscal policies, especially during crises such as the COVID-19 pandemic, have involved large-scale money printing, and it undermines the confidence in the stability of the dollar's purchasing power. Now let's talk about BRICS and the alternative financial systems. The BRICS bloc, BRICS standing for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has been exploring ways to minimize dependence on Western-led institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. Apart from those 5 countries, BRICS is now joined by a few more countries also, because a lot of other countries are wanting to join in. And their plans include setting up parallel financial frameworks, currency agreements, and facilitating trade in local currencies rather than settling in US dollars. And the potential effects of a new system is that they're seeking greater self-determination. They want to free themselves from the constraints of the US dollar's volatility or US monetary policy. It also improves regional cooperation. A BRICS-wide system could be expanded to include other like-minded countries seeking stable and transparent trade routes. The challenge, of course, is coordination among different regulatory, legal, and cultural environments is complex, and building robust infrastructure takes time. So that's the background of what we're going to talk about today. We are in a geopolitical competition between countries. They want more control over their money, and they're looking for alternative routes. So with political tensions and monetary uncertainties escalating, one question arises: should countries consider a global, decentralized commodity money instead of tying themselves to another nation's fiat currency? BitcoinSV, BSV, offers such a possibility. And when I say Bitcoin, I don't mean that Bitcoin that you probably think is Bitcoin, BTC, the one that's now hovering around 80,000 to 100,000 US dollars per coin. I do not mean that one, because that is the version of Bitcoin that's been sabotaged to not work. On-chain, it can only do 7 transactions per second maximum, which causes it to get congested easily, and when it does, its fees increase phenomenally. So unfortunately, most of the world think that that is Bitcoin. But the Bitcoin I'm talking about is the one that uses the original Bitcoin protocol, the one that is still following the original vision of Satoshi Nakamoto of becoming a digital cash system for the world. It can currently do about 100,000 transactions per second, which is much higher than Visa's 60,000 transactions per second. And as we speak, it is currently being scaled up to be able to do millions of transactions per second. Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV, or the BSV blockchain as it's sometimes called, is Bitcoin that I'm talking about. It is the only blockchain project that can handle the world's transaction traffic. Let's explore why Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV, should be considered by world leaders to be used and adopted as their national digital cash system. First, it is decentralized and neutral. BSV operates on a public blockchain, and it is maintained by a global network of miners and nodes that are independent of a single nation's control. So it's got a global settlement layer. It's also sanctions resistance. Since no individual government can shut down or censor the network, countries are less vulnerable to unilateral foreign sanctions that leverage centralized financial intermediaries. There's no single point of failure. In contrast to fiat currencies reliant on central banks and clearing houses, BSV transactions settle directly on-chain. Number 2, BSV, Bitcoin, has a non-inflationary nature. And because it uses the original Bitcoin protocol, BSV has a maximum supply of 21 million coins. And this cap means that it cannot be printed at will to cover deficits or fund stimulus packages, which reduces the potential for inflationary spikes. Over the long run, as more users adopt BSV and its scarcity becomes pronounced, its value may appreciate. This stands in stark contrast to fiat currencies with a track record of depreciating over time through inflation. And year after year, all of us lose the value of our fiat currencies, of our hard-earned savings. The other advantage of Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is that it is scalable for everyday use. It's got large block size. BitcoinSV distinguishes itself by allowing large block sizes, enabling significantly higher transaction throughput. And it's vital if nations or millions of people use it daily. BSV also has low transaction fees. BSV's design keeps network fees very, very low, and this makes micro payments feasible. It's an essential feature for regions looking to serve underbanked populations or support high-volume industrial and commercial transactions. BSV also has commodity-like properties. Like the digital gold analogy, BSV can function similarly to gold. It's scarce, it's durable, it's verifiable, and it's not reliant on any issuing authority. In using BSV, there's no counterparty risk. Unlike fiat currencies, which are someone else's debt or liability, BSV units are direct digital property once you own them. And the more real-world businesses and individuals use BSV for commerce rather than speculation, the less volatile it becomes. So, stability through utility is achieved. Reduced speculation, increased adoption. BSV also has data integrity and smart contracts capability. It supports advanced scripting capabilities, making it useful beyond payments. This can facilitate transparent supply chain tracking, digital identity solutions, or complex financial instruments. Number 6, it's got practical advantages for national economies. Trade settlement, for example. Countries could settle international trades in BSV without an intermediary bank dictating terms. And let's consider remittances and financial inclusion. Migrant workers and citizens in remote areas could transfer funds quickly and affordably on the same blockchain rails. It's boosting financial inclusion. There is also a concept of improved government transparency. On-chain transactions provide a transparent ledger, potentially reducing corruption and ensuring that funds are allocated and spent as intended. Adopting a blockchain-based system can stimulate local tech ecosystems. Startups and established firms could develop wallets, infrastructure, point-of-sale solutions, and data-driven applications. BSV will drive technological innovation. So there's definitely lots of reasons why BSV could do well as an international digital cash system, but I understand there are still a lot of things to consider. There's multiple perspectives. For example, the volatility, perhaps robust strategies, such as reserves or hedges to mitigate short-term swings, is a possibility. There is also regulatory uncertainty. Regulatory stances towards digital assets could vary, and political leaders must craft legal frameworks that protect consumers and businesses without stifling innovation. There's also infrastructure investment. A transition to a blockchain-based economy requires education, technical infrastructure, and cybersecurity measures. There's also geopolitical complications. Some countries may view decentralized networks suspiciously. They fear they would lose control over their monetary policies. We can acknowledge that there are certainly things that still need further consideration. However, at a time when tariff wars, geopolitical rivalries, and inflationary pressures dominate headlines, nations worldwide, especially members of BRICS, are rethinking their reliance on the US dollar. And while several alternatives are under consideration, a decentralized and commodity-like digital money, such as BitcoinSV, stands out for its neutrality, finite supply, scalability, and potential to foster global financial inclusion. And for ordinary citizens, the promise of low-cost transactions, improved monetary sovereignty, and a hedge against inflation is appealing. For political leaders, the potential of distancing national economies from external monetary pressures while still maintaining global trade connectivity is difficult to ignore. Although no system is perfect, exploring BSV as a payment and monetary network can be a practical step toward a more resilient and equitable global financial architecture. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Please like it and share it with your friends who are interested in these sort of subject matters, who care about the world and our economy. In the next video, I'm going to talk about BSV projects like the Terra node, which is the technology that's powering BSV's ability to perform millions of transactions per second, as well as a new stablecoin running on BSV, and how to use bsvsearch.com. It's our website where you can find other people with whom to buy, sell, and exchange goods and services only in BSV. So please subscribe to this channel to let YouTube know that you like it, and so you can be notified as to when I release those future videos. So until next time, this is Marquez. Cheers. Bye.